Many children in Zambia did not go to school because their parents could not afford it. Today, 2.5 million children are back in the classroom, sitting on desks and being fed nutritious meals under the school feeding program. Markets are now peaceful with no kind of violence. Clinics stand where there were none. There's still much work ahead, jobs to create, futures to secure. And that's why PARLEY keeps working day after day. Because just as we delivered free education, we will keep delivering. For every child still waiting and every family still rising. Until progress is something every Zambian feels. We've started the change. Now let's finish the job. On the 13th of August 2026, vote for Hakainde Hichilema as President of the Republic of Zambia. And let us continue to move Zambia.
Evening. It is the 14th of June 2026 and I welcome you to the analysis on KBN TV as we get to talk about trending issues, and these are hot stories that have been happening for the past week in the country. As you know, we are exactly 60 days to the election, so in 60 days Zambia will be going to to cast their votes. They'll be going to the polls to elect new office bearers or to return Mr. Hakainde Hichilema to State House. Though we'll be talking about that later on. My name is Mike Jovic Moneta. We're standing on for IP. We're standing on for PK, of course. So this is the lineup for today's program, for this evening's program rather. To get straight into it, on my far left is IP himself, of course, Innocent Perry. Innocent, good evening. It's good to have you in the analysis.
Thank you so much, Mike, and good evening to the viewers. Good to see you as well.
How is the optimism? You're prepared?
All is well. We hope that we'll have a smooth conversation going forward.
Also joining us is speech analyst Mike Stula. Speech analyst, good evening. It's good to have you as well on the Sunday analysis.
Thank you very much, Mike, and it's good to see you once again. And good evening to our dear viewers. Thank you for having me.
Of course, up next, also joining us this evening is Sinyangwe Chiwoyu. Mr. Sinyangwe Chiwoyu, good evening. It's good to have you yet again on the analysis.
Good evening, Mike, and good to have two mics sitting beside me. I feel well protected. I feel well protected, and most importantly, good evening, viewers, and we look forward to having a very exhaustive chat yet again.
We're beaming live on 4 platforms. There's on Facebook, KBN TV, on DSTV channel 279, Go TV channel 27, and Top Star channel 102. Now, to get straight into it, the Republican President, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, declined to sign into law the public gathering bill. Now, what catches the attention of many is that this is a bill that was among the 74, the famous 74 bills that were in Parliament. And from that, whenever I heard a lot from this particular bill, only for last week when when there was public outcry to say the president had actually signed the bill in private. But after that, State House had to confirm to say the president actually refused to sign the bill on the 29th of May. But State House only clarified that particular information on the 10th of June 2026. IP, I'd love to bring you on this particular one.
Yeah.
The president refuses to sign this bill on 29th of May. But State House only comes to clarify after calls, after public outcry to say maybe the president signed this bill privately, because we saw tweet to say in Mazabuka the bill was actually used as law before it was actually assented by the president.
Yeah.
I just want you to talk about the time in between. Why only clarify after the public has made mention to say maybe the president signed this bill?
Yeah, thank you so much once again, Mike, and good to see you, my comrade Chioyu. Thank you so much for being part of the show again, and also my good your comrade, your namesake, the speech analyst, and Jovic Mwendachavi, together with the viewers out there. Of course, Mike, I want to agree with you that your preamble, your synopsis is quite correct when you say there were a lot of rumors that the president perhaps was being accused that he had assented into that bill, you know, to make the public gathering bill into law. But it was after so many push from various stakeholders. We in the media, we talked about it. Also, I think NGOCC, they also condemned all that. And that might have triggered now a response from the government that, look, there's too much noise out there, you know. So what is on record is that the president has said no to the public gathering bill, as you are insinuating. So something for me progressive is that the president made the right decision. Mike, on the analysis, we don't miss our words. When something is good, we do applaud. When something is not okay, we do not massage. We say things as they are supposed to be said. And at this particular juncture, permit me to make mention that in my view, I feel that the president made the right decision to deny or refuse, to decline to assent into that bill into law. Because number one, when you look at the public gathering bill, which was approved by the last session of parliamentarians, it was endemic actually to the interests of the public. It was retrogressive. That's one thing we should make mention. I remember very well, Mike, that even from inception, when that bill was being deliberated before the floor of the House, many stakeholders raised an alarm, and they said this bill is not supposed to be part of those 70 or over 70 bills to be talked about. But MPs, in their arrogance, they went ahead and debated upon that bill, and later on it was submitted to the president. So for me, first of all, the previous, and when I say the previous MPs, I mean all of them. I mean all those who served in the previous, session of Parliament. They should feel ashamed that they decided to give us this bill, which has been denied by the people of Zambia through one man, in President Hakainde Hichilema. For me, it goes to tell you, Mike, that I think the country Zambia is in danger. If we can have a set of parliamentarians, such as those who have left, approving such a retrogressive, law, and wanting to push it, for me, I feel not safe. Now, let me applaud the president.
As you submit, I would love to ask you a follow-up question. The president, when he was campaigning before he came into power, that was in 2021, he promised to actually, attend to the Public Order Act, and this was the bill now that was tabled before Parliament. Yeah. Was the promise delivered?
It wasn't delivered. First of all, when you look at the Public Order Act of 1955, it is one law again which has been problematic in this country for over the years. The UNIP, I remember, I think they felt they enjoyed it when they were in power. Reason being that it was quite suitable. It was quite okay when they were in power. But the moment they left power, UNIP members, they cried foul over that Public Order Act of 1955. The MMD again, when they were decampaigning the UNIP, they said when we come into power, this law of 1955, we're going to repeal it. But that never happened. MMD again decided to embrace it. Fast forward again, the PF, when they were in the opposition, they decampaigned the MMG that, look, they were supposed to get rid of this law of 1955. You can imagine, Mike, 1955. I don't know, you know, if how old is your grandfather? If you count the years from 1955 to where we are today. You understand? There's a problem somewhere there. So the PF again, when they decampaigned that law and they assured Zambians that once you vote for us, we're going to get rid of this law. In 2011, PF comes into power, they failed to get rid of that law. That's how selfish politicians they can be. Let's bring in the UPND. Equally, President Akende, as you've rightly put it, he assured Zambians that when we come into power, we shall get rid of some of these, archaic laws we have in our statutes. What happened? The man failed to get rid of the Public Order Act. Instead, what they wanted to do now was to bring in another very useless law through Parliament, which was now called the Public Gathering Bill. Now, funny enough, the Public Gathering Bill, what it was intending to, it was intending to introduce a situation whereby, for example, the four of us want to have a meeting, a public meeting. We needed to go and get a permission through the Zambia police, a permission from the Zambia police. While the Public Order Act of 1955, it was actually challenged in the court of law some years back. It says there's no need for a citizen or a politician to get a permission from the Zambia police. Instead, you just notify the Zambia police. But this law, which President HH has refused to sign or to assent into law, it was actually intending to bring such kind of laws which were things were going to be a bit oppressive to we the Zambian people. All right. So in short, I would say kudos to one man in HH for doing what is right, and quite shameful to all the previous members of parliament who approved this law.
Mike Siswela, the president refuses to sign the Public Gatherings Bill. Since you are on the analysis, I'd love to get your analysis on this particular issue.
Well, I think for me, the decision by the president to not to assent to that bill so that it becomes law is something that I didn't expect, because we sat on the analysis and we condemned it to say there are a lot of bad things that we have seen in this bill, and a number of people, Zambians out there who support the UPND, did not agree with us. So for me, it simply shows that the president, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, agrees with the views of the analysis, because we told him to say what the parliamentarians want you to sign is not something that is good for the nation. So for him to not to sign, it is a very good indicator to say to it that sometimes when we speak here on the analysis, it is not that we hate the president, no, but we want the president to do the right thing. But of course, sometimes the majority wins, the minority voice will not be considered. But in this case, the analysis is part of the governance system through freedom of expression. We did say no, this was not good. So now the other issue that I want to bring to attention, Mike, is the aspect of you know, when you go to Parliament, to the National Assembly today, they collected some of the best journalists in this country and they ramped them somewhere to say, okay, you'll be our communications department, communications team under the National Assembly. But if I ask you today, I know I'm not supposed to ask you, when you go to the website of Parliament, you are not going to find information as to how many bills were passed at during the just ended Parliament, which was dissolved in May. We needed to know, because the public has been talking about the 77, 74 bills. But from my understanding...
do you think that's where Southern Province Police Commanding Officer Mr. Mono Namalungo got it wrong? He thought maybe the bill was passed and used it as law?
That could be an assumption, but I think for him as a public civil servant, he didn't need to. He needed to understand, to say, for me to enforce this bill, if it has become law, I need to hear it from the president. Then there's also something that sometimes viewers we do not know, but sometimes this is government procedure. when a bill has been assented to become law, for it to be operationalized, there must be a minister or a PS should issue what is called a statutory instrument. So that's a procedure sometimes of how things work. So the president may assent to say this bill should become law, it is a law, but for it to now be operational, there must be again another set of instrument which is called SI. So I don't know how the Southern Province commanding officer got all those things in his head to say that this can be done. Then before you chipped in with another question, I was about to explain to say, look, the public today has been fed with the information that there are about 77 or 74 bills that were passed. But if Parliament was proactive, they could have informed the public to say the actual number of bills that were passed in the just ended Parliament is like this. But today, you can go to the website of Parliament, you are not going to find anything. So this simply shows that sometimes Zambians are going to be, you cannot blame Zambians, even the Southern Province Commissioner, because maybe he thought that was the thing that government had sent it into law, but it was never the case. So in my view, we need to have systems that are proactive so that the public is kept updated of what is going on.
All right. Mr. Sinyangwe, the president rejected to sign the public gatherings bill into law. Good move or bad? Just your general assessment on this particular issue.
My take is very simple. First, to start with, there's no doubt that we all agree that the public gatherings bill was a very bad law. I mean, when I saw it, or when I read it in raw form when it was submitted to Parliament and I compared with the Public Order Act, I think it was a progressive law in the wrong direction, if you ask me, because it was more aggressive than the Public Order Act. Correct. So now, here is my take. We need to pay, I think, as much as we need to commend the president for not signing that bill into law, we also need to commend the media, okay? We need to commend the civil society organization. We need to commend the people who were alert and condemn that law. The people that protested there, the public gathering bill, everyone else who opposed it need to be commended. And this is why we need to have a very alert citizenry. Why do I say so? If you look at the whole lawmaking process in this country, that public gathering bill did not find itself in Parliament accidentally. It came from Cabinet, okay? So when Cabinet sat, in which President Hichilema was chairing, they thought it was a good law, okay? They okayed it, took it to the drafters, and the drafters of the law, it's the Attorney General. Yes. The Attorney General said it's a good law, yes. And they gave it to Honorable Jack Mwimbu, who took it to Parliament as Minister of Home Affairs, believing and convinced that it's a good law. So that law was going to pass, or that bill was going to pass into law, if there was no alert and very well-informed citizenry that came forward and said this is a bad law. That bill was going to be turned into law. It was going to be signed into law. But what I don't want to take away from the president is the fact that for me this is a departure. Because what I have seen, and I have to say this, what I have seen in the president, especially with a lot of laws that have gone against public interest, okay, I think the president has ignored public pressure. If I'm not mistaken, and I can be corrected, I think this should be the second or first time that he's yielding to public pressure and refusing to sign a law that the Zambians say is a bad law.
Correct.
Just take a look at Bill 7. Bill 7 itself, everyone else said, look, this is a bad law. Do not sign into it. First attempt, it was knocked out. They went and regrouped, did Mingalato. Deceptively, it was brought into Parliament. Even when court had ruled earlier that the process of making or amending a constitution required consensus. Okay, because the process that they had embarked on the first attempt was illegal.
Yeah.
It was illegal.
So you saw that deceptive gatherings in provinces or in a vain attempt to portray like they were consulting, and eventually this law was passed. And we've got a new constitution, by the way, which people don't agree with and which many people don't know about. So for me, when I look at this public gatherings bill, it's a departure from the norm that we've seen in the president and in the UPND insofar as their approach to making the law is concerned. I think, in my view, their desire as individuals running and also their party, in most cases, supersede the public desire in terms of law-making process. And then just a quick comment on the the second question you raised on the Public Order Act. Look, this law it's a law that is here because we've been ruled by selfish politicians who don't have the interest of the Zambian people at heart. I cannot repeat what he gave a very good analogy on how we moved from 1955 to where we are today. But most importantly, this is one law that if we have to change it, it's the simplest to change. Exactly. Why? Because there's a court ruling. If you go and read the Christine Mulundika versus the people, the court found that requesting or citizenry going to the police to seek permission to hold public gathering goes against the constitutional provision for free association.
Correct.
Okay? So that Public Order Act contravenes the provision for free association which is found in the Constitution. So they changed to say, no, just inform the police because some gatherings might require security. But what you see now is that when the police tell you there is not enough security to police your gathering, if you want to proceed, there will be enough police to come and stop you.
Not to protect you.
Not to protect you.
As you submit.
Yeah, and lastly, I think it's just on the same public gathering bill. Look, the decision by the police commissioner for Southern Province, Commissioner Namalongo, to apply a law that doesn't exist. Really, I don't want to, because he's a very senior police officer, by the way, so I don't want to accuse him of being reckless. I don't know. My intuition tells me that law could have been there. Because how come that man was going to quote it? Because he quoted the specific section that he applied to stop that gathering. Okay? And then, if at all he applied the law that doesn't exist, then he should be investigated for abuse of authority of office. Yeah. Because remember, abuse of authority of office in this country is an imprisonable offense. So if he abused the authority of his office and applied the law that doesn't exist, he should be investigated. And you gave out the dates, the timeline. The moment that the police commissioner announced that he was stopping a public gathering using the Public Gatherings Bill, he should have been censured the moment he did that. But State House, Minister of Home Affairs, Minister of Justice, everyone was quiet. Okay, so I think I'm trying to think that this is just pure coincidence.
Then, Mike, maybe before we move on.
30 seconds.
All right, thank you. You know, the dates that you have given, 29th, the president did not sign the bill, right? So now, what State House did was actually, they did not do a good service to President Hakainde Hichilema. Because remember, he had just ascended to 5 bills to become law, and one of them is the issue of free education. So the momentum there was hyped. Say, oh, the president has done something that was good. So State House, if State House was proactive, they could have also said maybe a day or two to say, actually, President Hakainde Hichilema did not assent to this other bill. And the momentum that was hyped from the 5 bills could have continued. But now, to come around and the dates that you are giving us, it creates a narrative to say, actually, I think the bill was there, but because of public pressure, they want to just create perception which somehow is not good.
Well, we get to move on. And recently, President Hakainde Hichilema was in Solwezi, but let's talk about the things that he addressed the people of Solwezi. He mentioned 4 people, and according to him, they signed against the famous Bill number 7. Before that, let's take a look at this video. All right, that is...
One person. Can you have two presidential candidates for UPND at one time? There is only one of them, and you chose this fellow. Nasan Tabi Ngimwane Nasan This province now has a lot more MPs because the UPND MPs followed the instruction to vote for Bill 7. But we have 4 MPs that refuse to vote for Bill 7. And I will name them. NKOMBO, MUCHIMA, SAMAKAYI, and MUBANGA. We don't want MPs like that because without Bill 7, there will be no women coming into parliament this coming year. We want loyal councillors, those who work with the president. We want loyal mayors, those who work with the president. We want loyal MPs who work with the president. If we didn't win Bill 7, we would have had no women in parliament under proportional representation. Because of Bill 7 and because of those who had to behave properly, and we didn't have enough MPs, we had to use MPs from other parties in order to win Bill 7 to bring women, to bring youth, and those with disabilities in parliament. That is a mistake.
President Hakainde Hichilema making mention of NKOMBO, Elijah Muchima, SAMAKAYI, as well as MUBANGA as the people who voted against Bill 7. But recently we've had the chance to talk to most of these, and NKOMBO has publicly mentioned to say he voted for Bill number 7. Elijah Muchima, on the other hand, as well, did mention to say he was the champion for Bill number 7. IP, to bring you on this particular one, do you think it was right for the president to call out the names? And he even mentioned to say he doesn't want disloyal MPs. He wants loyal MPs who are willing to work with the president. But the key question is that these members of parliament, who should they be loyal to? Is it the president or the people they represent?
Yeah, so first of all, Mike, let's make mention that we have a problem in our country, more especially when it comes to the laws which governs us as a nation. For me, that is where the biggest problem lies. The constitution we're using, it is the document which, for me, I feel it is not doing us a service as a country, because we have deposited a lot of powers in one man called the president. And therefore, it depends. At the time when you've got a good president, you realize that this constitution, it will operate in a different manner. When you have a bad president, the constitution again, it will be interpreted in a different manner as well, which is very dangerous. Let's have a constitution as a country which should not give too much powers to the people, to the president. Because we are turning leaders into becoming monsters. We are turning leaders to becoming into demigods, or small gods for that matter. That's why there's a problem. And you can't blame anyone. Even if you voted for me as your president, I get there, then I begin to misbehave. I begin to bully you people. Don't blame me, blame that constitution which we have, because that constitution has given us a lot of powers. In other countries, Mike, you realize that the constitution has given a little powers to a head of state. So for me, that is why there's a problem. Now, to answer your question, where is the problem? The challenge that I have is that when you look at these political party constitutions, come back to the supreme law of the land, which is our Republican constitution, it deposit the powers in one person. If you're going to be a party president of the Mike Mwendachawe political party, for example, you expect all of us to be dancing to your tune. For me, that is a problem. And it's the same even in the UPND. When you look at the UPND constitution, the president has got a lot of powers in that regards. It's more like the alpha and the omega. That's why when you look at the NMC of the UPND, the chairman is the president. You were told not long ago when you were covering the adoption process and stuff like that, that for your adoption certificate to be approved, the president of that political party should be fully in charge. So what will stop you from bending and begin to hero worship this man who is now a party president? For me, that's what the issue is. So I'm not shocked to hear President Hakainde Hichilema go on the platform and begin to demean fathers, to begin grandfathers in Honorable NKOMBO, in Honorable MUCHIMA, in Honorable Newton SAMAKAYI, former Mwinlunga Member of Parliament, Elias MUBANGA, who had been adopted as a Member of Parliament, and all those things. For me, I'm not shocked. Why? Because the constitutions of the laws we have in this country gives too much powers to a one-man called the party president, and some of them now they begin to bully them. That's why there's a problem. So if you ask me, it was not necessary for the president, Mike, to call out Gary NKOMBO in such a manner, to call out Newton SAMAKAYI in such a manner, to call out Elijah MUCHIMA in such a manner, and Elias MUBANGA in such a manner. You can't do that.
I'll give you a minute, even as I ask you this follow-up question regarding to Bill number 7 now, which is now law. The president said they never signed the bill, but if you ask them, they'll tell you to say they signed the bill. Do you think maybe there was an issue with a technical issue with how they voted, because it was technical, if you ask me? But again, that was a secret vote.
Exactly, Mike. Look, for me, we should have a government, let's have leaders in government today or tomorrow who are going to be trusted. If you are going to tell me that I was one of those people that voted for this bill, you should be trusted enough. Because it is your democratic right, Mike, to vote yes or no. And then because you've given an example of Gary NKOMBO, who is on record having admitted that, no, I also supported Bill 7. I voted for Bill 7. You ask your Elijah MUCHIMA, he will tell you, no, I actually voted for Bill 7. Then the president comes in and says, no. Hey, I will name them. Gary NKOMBO, MUCHIMA, SAMAKAYI, and Elias MUBANGA. These are members who were against Bill 7. So your father is now exposing you. But you as Gary NKOMBO, you are telling us and the people of Zambia that you voted in favor of Bill 7. For me, that is a problem. Who is telling the people the truth and who is lying in this case? Maybe the word lying could be too harsh. Who is misleading who in this case? Is Gary NKOMBO lying? Is the Honorable Elijah MUCHIMA lying? Or is the president himself lying to the people of Zambia? So for me, there is a problem. But also another institution, Mike, thank you so much, Mike. Another institution which has been a letdown to this country in the last 5 years has been Parliament. The Speaker-led National Assembly, which just ended, was a letdown to this country. Mike, why not publish a list so that the people can know who supported that bill or not? These things have always happened in the past. They'll give a list, as Comrade Mike Situla was giving an example, that we've got staffs that side who are supposed to give a list of how people have voted and which people have declined and which people have supported it. So let's not have this kind of confusion around. In short, Mike, I'm not siding with the Honorable Gary NKOMBO. I will never side with SAMAKAYI and everybody else. But I feel the president, as the father, you need to have a heart of forgiveness. If there are some issues you might have differed with your children, you need to be accommodative, because you as a senior citizen or number one citizen, if you're going to begin to, start castigating people in public, then that leaves much to be desired. Let's forgive each other and move on.
Mike Situla, the president called the people that, according to him, voted against Bill 7. Do you think it was right for the president to call them out in public? And also, as you answer that question, the president, during the same speech, did mention to say they had to go and look for MPs from the other parties to make sure to say the bill was a success. Your comment on those two issues? A club is like a political party. So if you agree as a team to say, for instance, like now there's a World Cup. If you agree as a team to say, if we concede a penalty, it is IP who is going to be the first person to attempt to take that penalty. You agree as a team. So when you go on the field,
then we concede the team, we concede the penalty, then I step up to take that penalty. Then I'm going against the agreement of the team. So if the UPND had agreed that this is the pattern of how to vote, regardless of what you think about the bill, every member was supposed to vote in that direction, because it was, when you belong to a club, you must agree to go by the agreement of the club. But for the president to name call those that voted against, I think in the spirit of unity and forgiveness, it doesn't create a good, reasonable state of affairs. Okay, for instance, when we ask a question, why did the president have to call them now? What did he want to achieve? So the answers are with the president. Because in the same breath, the president spoke to say he is the one who calls the shots, in terms, not the exact words that he said, but from what he said, if you go to on his page, he can clearly say that even if members of parliament do not want a certain bill, he calls the shots. If the members of parliament did not want if the members of parliament don't want CDF to be 70 million kwacha, he can decide that this should be this much. So that is the pattern that the president has created. But now let me give you a background. We had Bill 10, for instance. We had Bill 10 under the PF administration. Not everyone under the PF administration may have voted for Bill 10. But did we see President Edgar Lungu come out and call out names to say this one and that one did this against Bill 10? We didn't see that. Obviously, that was done administratively behind the scenes. Because what you do not to have in this period, you do not to have divided elements. Why do I call them divided elements? Look where Gary NKOMBO has gone. Gary NKOMBO has gone the opposite direction, meaning the people that may have voted for, may vote for Mr. Hakainde Hichilema may not be happy with how the president is handling Gary NKOMBO. We have also seen Mr. Newton Samakayi. He has also come out to say, no, I didn't, the president is not informing the public very well because I voted for Bill 7. So you don't want to have these divisions back and forth. Because look, when you are a president, you are like a father. And when you are a father, then your children begin to respond to you. It doesn't create a good picture for the young ones. And it also doesn't create a good picture to say, is the president lying to the nation or not? I remember when this bill was voted into parliament, there was one comrade, Mr. Mao Sampa, who has joined, who has now endorsed President Hakainde Hichilema. He kept knocking on the door of National Assembly to say, can you show us how people voted in parliament? That information was not availed to Mr. Sampa and many others. So now, we're asking a question again. Where did President Hakainde Hichilema get that detail to say this one and that one and that one did not vote for Bill 7? So again, what IP was talking about, the president having too much powers. But that is something that every president before Mr. Hakainde Hichilema would say, no, when I come into office, I want the presidential powers to be reduced. But when they get there, it becomes sweeter and they don't see anything wrong with it. So for me, Mike, again, failure has been caused by Parliament, because all these issues could have been resolved by Parliament to release the list to say, this is how people voted. So if there could have been a malfunctioning of gadgets, then the people of Zambia should mobilize money and buy new gadgets so that you don't accuse people wrongly to say you voted for, you didn't vote, then Mr. Gary NKOMBO is saying, I voted. So now you don't want to put a picture to say the president is lying to the nation.
You never answered the last one, and I'll give you a minute to answer this one on the issue of the president making measure to say they had to get MPs from the other camp to make sure to say the bill was a success. And I love the example that you gave in responding to the first question, where you said this is more like a football team, and when you agree, you have to agree on one principle. But is it right to get the opponents to support you to make sure to say you win that particular match?
Okay, Mike. The bad thing that okay, it is good. I remember when I was attending a simulation of the United Nations program, we call it lobbying. So if you do not have the numbers, I have to come to you, Mike, look, there's this proposal that our government is pushing. Would you be willing to support it? That is called lobbying. It happens in Parliament, it happens even at the UN General Assembly, and everywhere that happens. But the only issue that I have a problem with that is that the MPs that were identified, these MPs coming from a different political party had also disobeyed the guidelines of their political parties.
The actual standings of their party.
You remember there was an issue of PF, the other camp of PF, I think under MUNDUBILE by then, they said you should not vote for Bill 7. So if some of those who voted for Bill 7 came from that bunch of MPs that supported MUNDUBILE, then they also went against what I can call collective responsibility. So the president getting other members, it is okay. But there's also something that also came out in the public, but we couldn't verify it, the aspect of people were paid and they were made to go to view some animals free of charge in the Shobiro Zambezi National Park. That we cannot verify today. But if it happened, then it is not something that you get it out of robbing, but you get it out of enticing someone.
All right, I think that is very clear. He has mentioned to say, you know, both political parties actually have their stance in this particular bill, but maybe it's the issue to do with you know, them supporting their stance, because from the other side, some never supported their stance, and from the other side as well. But we'll get to move on. Mr. Chiwoyu, your general assessment of President Hakainde Hichilema name calling those, according to him, that never voted for the famous bill number 7.
Okay, here is my take, and I'll pick it up from where Mike left it. We're talking about the issue of lobbying and the issue of being used, okay? Clearly, what the president said that in Solwes was the fact that there was no lobbying that was done on the part of the UPND to entice the opposition members of parliament to vote with them on bill number 7, but instead they were used. Now, in this country, when you use someone, okay, it intonates something that borders on uncouth behavior, if I can say it. Because you're not going to use an adult without giving them something in return. It becomes transactional. Of course, the president is a businessman and is very transactional. So now what the question will be asking is, what type of transaction did the UPND do with the other members of parliament? Okay, and do they bother on an ethical behavior on the part of members of parliament who accepted to be used? Okay, and then most importantly, they being used has got some undertone of corruption. Okay. If you remember very well, is it Emmanuel Mwamba who wrote to the Anti-Corruption Commission complaining that the members of parliament who voted together with the opposition members of parliament who voted together with the UPN were bribed to take the position that they did. Now, I don't think the president would want to associate himself with a transaction that borders on corruption. Okay, so I think for me that it sent a very bad signal, if you ask me. And in any case, I don't know why the president had even to go and start mentioning those 4 members of parliament. And let's face it, just to give you a bit of background, you know, the president has got a casual approach towards democracy, and this gravitates him towards in some dictatorial space. What do I say so? The president doesn't believe in the doctrine of separation of powers. There is a reason why parliament has to operate independently. There is a reason why judiciary has to operate independently. the framers of our democracy had in mind the fact that at some point you might have a president who is excessive. So within the governance structure, if you have a president who is excessive, what benchmarks are there to ensure that he is brought into checks and is given those checks and balances so that he doesn't go astray? But when you look at the president, this is the president who has fired more judges than any other president. This is the president who thinks parliament is supposed to be for him. If you listen to what he said in Solwezi, and this is my interpretation, I think he brought it, he literally mentioned that apart from the president, there's nothing more important than it. Everyone else has to be there for the president. But then the principle of the doctrine of separation of powers, which is the foundation stone for our democracy as Zambia, provides and expects to have an independent legislature, which is parliament, and an independent judiciary. So I think now this, for me, it's about all the key actors in our country to be alert, because we've got a president who doesn't believe that parliament is supposed to act independently or the judiciary is supposed to act. Everyone else has to subordinate to his desires and wishes. And just to talk a bit about this secret voting, just to remind our viewers, the reason Parliament adopted the secret ballot is to ensure that its legislative function is independent. Parliamentary decisions of members of Parliament are supposed to be protected. You should not punish a member of Parliament for doing their legislative function. Then remove Parliament. Look, even when you go at law, the law protects members of Parliament. You cannot sue them for what they say on the floor of the House, okay? Because the law understands and wants to promote the separation of powers. So now if you're going to have a president who says, no, this voted against my bill, so you name name calling. And you say, my also other fear, and this maybe my fellow panelists can guide me. I feel the president is putting these members of parliament in harm's way. Look, how do you expect these members of parliament to be treated by the president's supporters if they met him, if they met them?
Yeah, that's why I think IP and I have spoken about unity. It's supposed to be a unifier. If someone has erred, the president should be unified in people. Because one thing, Mike, you should understand is that with the issue of independent aspiring members of parliament, we have seen those that have been under UPND, but they have been attacked. And why are they being attacked? We had Riswaniso said, our youths are going to manage you if you are going to use our structures as UPND to stand as an independent. So what Chiwoya said is actually some of these people that the president has named, they're actually going to have fewer friends within the UPND now. Because the president, they'll be fearing to associate people, UPND members who will fear to associate with NKOMBO, SAMAKAYI, MUBANGA, and MUCHIMA. But I don't think you need that in a country of unity.
All right, now we get to move on, and several independent candidates have challenged the ECZ's directive to abandon the Kendo symbol. Now, what is most interesting and the way they're calling it, and among them is, of course, the former Mazabuka lawmaker, Honorable Gary NKOMBO. I should also make mention to say, if you look at what is happening in Mazabuka, you might think elections are just in Mazabuka and all of that. But yeah, he's among those that had actually gone for the Kendo symbol, and also Simon Mulengamwila, who is contesting under the Lusaka mayoral position as an independent candidate. Most of them are saying the Kendo symbol was on the list that the ECZ had submitted to them to choose, and they chose, printed out regalia, banners, flyers, and all of that, and then later on the ECZ comes up and be like, abandon this Kendo symbol. And as we speak, they have taken the ECZ to court. IP, your general assessment on this particular issue?
Wow, I want to relieve myself by giving it a laughter a little bit, and to begin with, I'll go with my daughter's, saying sometimes. She says, let's have order. That's what my daughter likes saying. And I agree with her that let's have order in this country. We should have order, Mike, in such a way that an election, a general election for that matter, is a 5-year, tenure to plan. We've got the entire 5-year cycle to plan for a general election. And we've got the Electoral Commission of Zambia and the officials who have been employed there permanently to be there. Their job is basically to plan for an election. So it is shocking, Mike, that 5 years down the line, the commission seemingly, it has found itself in a situation or in a scenario where it seems like it was not prepared. Or maybe it has been ambushed to conduct these elections. For me, that should worry this country. Mike, when you talk about the flip-flop kind of a situation, flip-flop kind of a scenario being exhibited by the commission in Zambia, where today you provide symbols for independent candidates. They will invite you, Mike. Mike, you want to contest as an independent candidate? Yes. Oh, fine. So, even if you went with your phone to decide that, no, for me, I want my symbol to be this phone because I love my phone very well. So you can't detach my spirit from this phone. Yeah. So I want to go with this on my ballot. The commission will tell you, Mike, yes, you love your phone, or maybe you love your sister, but you can't use the face of your sister. No. These are the symbols we have here at the commission. So therefore, choose from here. You decide on your own. When you decide, Mike, you buy that symbol. Political parties, they don't buy symbols when they go to choose. Those things are factored in when they go to register a political party. So meaning that they don't subscribe for any of those symbols. But for independent candidates rather, when they go to file their nominations, they'll be given a number of symbols. Then they decide from there. So, how dare you, or how funny do you want to be as a commission that a month after the campaigns, you sold me you gave me a symbol, which is a candle. Then we have paid for that. We have also printed materials for elections. Could be flyers, could be t-shirts, could be taking material, could be everything else.
As you submit.
Then you want to tell me that, no, I think that symbol of the candle, please get rid of it. We will provide you with another symbol. Zambians and gentlemen, let me end by using the words of the late Simon Mwansaka Pwepwe, who would say, Zambia twasevana. And we can do better. So for me, I'm happy that the independent candidates, Mike, to respect your time as you told me to wind up, I'm happy that they have gone to court to challenge this anomaly. And the commission, they should be held accountable for that problem and the circus they want to cause.
Mike Sichula, do you think it was an administrative error by approving the candle symbol in the first place?
I'll answer you this way, Mike. Look, when you have too many cooks in a kitchen, even the simplest meal to prepare will become complicated. Why do I mean? Today at the Electoral Commission of Zambia, there are too many people that have been appointed, and these are also, they have got a political background. Some of them, we know them to be electoral experts. So for me, when you begin to see these changes at the last minute, I begin to ask myself, is it that they want to support a certain political party so that the outcome can come in a certain way? Because for me, if I go to the Electoral Commission of Zambia and I'm given a list of symbols to choose from, then when I choose, I don't expect the Electoral Commission of Zambia to come back to tell me, no, we want you to get another symbol. Then secondly, the Electoral Commission of Zambia is not doing the candidates and the nation any favor by not stating a political party who has complained to say, if this symbol is going to be on the ballot, then I may be affected. I've not come across any political party that has complained. So when this happens, I want to tell the nation, and I believe the nation will agree with me, because this Electoral Commissioner of Zambia that we have, it is not the first one that are going to hold elections in this country. We have held elections from as far back as 1990s, and we have not had any of these challenges of today you want to change this, today you want to change that.
No.
We haven't had such issues. So what the Electoral Commission of Zambia is doing is actually reducing the credibility. People are beginning to lose confidence. People are beginning to create a narrative to say, but why is it that the Electoral Commission of Zambia wants to do this? I was going to agree with the electoral body if those symbols were imposed on them by the candidates themselves. They didn't impose those symbols on them. It was the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And also something, Mike, that you need to understand is when presidential candidates were filing in, it was not simultaneously with the
As you get to wonder.
it was not a simultaneous process. So the Electoral Commission of Zambia should have known to say, okay, from the presidential candidates that we have, maybe there's this symbol that is colluding or colliding with someone in the parliamentary race. So for me, this issue going to court is something that I want the court to quickly resolve it, because we have just 60 days. So if it is not resolved now, how are those candidates who are affected, the likes of NKOMBO, the likes of Lusaka Meroro candidate, how are they campaigning now? Because I'm sure they have suspended their campaigns because they do not know what outcome will come out. So I want this issue to be resolved as quickly as possible so that the affected candidates do not cry foul at the end of the day.
So your general assessment over the ECZ, in relation to the candle symbol and them being taken to court?
I'll be extremely brief.
Please.
Okay, and I'll use my theory as a former Outer Boys member. Okay, so please, Mike, as a moderator, allow me to use my religious background to.
Please.
First of all, I pray that the court can expeditiously rule over this matter, because obviously it has got a direct impact on the holding of the election, given the limited number of days that we are remaining with. But then, growing up as a young boy, we were taught that light is always in constant conflict with darkness. Okay, and in the Christian faith, we know what darkness represents, and we know what light represents. So the question I will leave the viewers is that since it suddenly wants to remove the candle, which represents the light, which darkness is fighting it? I leave it there.
So by darkness, I mean, you mean...
I'm not submitting further.
Anyway, we'll leave our viewers to actually answer that.
Like Jesus Christ.
Yes, parables.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get to move on, and former service chief Xavier Chungu, 3 weeks of police detention, and I'll be giving you now 1 minute 30 seconds IP on this one, and I'd love you to talk about the prolonged detention. What perceptions will this leave to the public in terms of the judicial processes that we have in this country?
Yeah, so first of all, Mike and the viewers, let us understand that we should not treat this issue so lightly of Xavier Chungu having been detained or being behind bars for the last 2 to 3 weeks now. That, Mike, is a very bad signal, and it paints a very bad picture on Zambia's democracy. And here's why. Mike, we are speaking about Xavier Chungu, a man who has served this country so diligently. That's number one. Number two, we are talking about a person with a fixed abode. That's Xavier Chungu, number two. Number three, and the most important, is that we are talking about a presidential candidate in this year's elections, right after filing in his nominations as a presidential aspirant, a few days later, when he wanted to commence the campaigns, you decide to get this man from his home and lock him up. The question is, how do you think this person is going to campaign? Because days are running out, time is running out. So how is Saviour Chungu campaigning as we speak right now? That's number one. And these are the stories that sometimes paints a very bad picture when it comes to the international community. And it's a shame, I mean, it's shameful that even we in the media, in Zambia and elsewhere, we are not talking about this issue. That one of the presidential candidates from the 14 who successfully filed in their nominations is behind the bars right now, was arrested by the Zambia police. So how is he campaigning? I'll leave that question to the viewers. And I'll leave that question to the Zambia police. I will leave that question again to the Electoral Commission of Zambia who conducts the elections. Number two, Mike. As I wind up. Mike, you remember that politicians again, they fail to learn from the past. When you talk about the prolonged detention of suspects, it is what almost each and every leader in this country has gone through. Every president has gone through. Talk about the Kaunda himself when he left power, he went through. Dr. Kaunda, when he was fighting the colonial masters, he went through. We talk about Chiluba himself when he was a revolutionarist, he went through. When he was in the labor movement again, he went all through that. When the man was out of power, Chiluba, he suffered over this prolonged detention. Fast forward, Michael Sata was a victim of this. We talk about President Hakainde Hichilema, who spent many years in the opposition. He suffered over the police brutality and the prolonged detention, mistreatment by the Zambia police. And with a man, when he was in the opposition, he told you and I and the Zambian people that when we come in, he vowed and he saw oath at the Heroes Stadium that no one, and I said never, that's the word he was using, never read my lips, never once again or never again should anyone or any suspect suffer or endure the humiliation which I went through. What is happening?
All right.
Saviour Chungu is in 3 weeks now.
Mike Suchola, do you think this is political persecution?
For me, like I did say, I think the first Sunday we analyzed this topic, I think the mistake was done, or the mistake was done, let me put it that way, the mistake was done to have Mr. Saviour Chungu be one of the 14 presidential candidates that were validated, had its papers validated by the Electoral Commission of Zambia, because that is where the mistake was made. Okay, our viewers, you have to debate on your
Why
own.
do you call it a mistake? Justify.
I wanted the viewers to debate on their own.
Even me, I'm one of the viewers and the listener, I may not agree with you. What was the mistake?
The mistake there was the Zambian government did not realize that Mr. Chungu, a former spy, was going to be one of the candidates who was going to be on the ballot. And someone who of his caliber to be on the ballot, he becomes a person of interest, because they think whatever he's going to say may border on some information that he may have received because of his privileged position. So that's what I call it a mistake.
I don't agree with you, comrade.
Okay.
And here is why. Mike,
I hope Mike is going to give me my minute.
You will compensate you, but here is a reason why. Look, I might have served as a former intelligent officer, but that doesn't take away my democratic right to participate in political affairs. It's the same as, for example, former presidents. A president who's at disposal with all the information. Yes. You lose power later on, years later, you want to come back. Why are they not being blocked? We have seen former defense ministers, comrade, who secure information and security intelligence issues, again participating in politics. So why should you infringe me, or because I served as a chief spy? I don't agree with you. Thank you.
So basically, what is happening here, Mike? When Mr. Chungu was arrested, for me, how I looked at it was that the Zambian government was doing catch up it's like Mr. Chungu had gone
The firefighting.
Had gone steps ahead of the Zambian government, such that when they picked him, they had to make him to be in detention for as long as possible. Because he has, according to experts, those in the legal experts, they say he can be given constitutional bail, but I don't know why all those avenues are failing. So for me, this whole issue, I wouldn't want to call it political persecution, but I would want to equate it to a situation whereby you find your opponent to be ahead of you, and when you get hold of him, you want them to not to continue with whatever they were, the political campaigns that they were supposed to launch during the campaigns. But it is unfair at the end of the day, because Mr. Chungu deserved to be speaking to his supporters. But now he has lost 30 days. He has not spoken to any supporter. So even if he was released, he has only 60 days. But I hope the courts are going to do justice to this matter, because it is also bordering on Zambia's image in terms of how you treat political opponents.
Is that why you prolonged detention, right or wrong?
Well, I think, okay, here's my submission. Where I have a problem with my brother's position is very simple. First of all, to start with, most of the stuff, I listened to the interviews that XF gave. Most of the stuff he talked about, if you remember, they were documented during the trial of Chiluba, the Chiluba corruption case. Yes. Most of these issues that XF was talking about, they were covered in there. And if you read, especially the old Post newspapers, you find that that information is there. But again, what worries me is the fact that whereas the Zambia police has detained Mr. Chungu, there is no attempt to prosecute him. Okay, and then this president we have, as IP has said, made it very clear that you can only arrest after investigation. Okay, so this now Xavier remains detained while the investigation are going on. And again, another unfortunate part is that Xavier had applied for constitutional bail, and he was granted by the High Court of Zambia. But the government did not, remember the High Court ruling, they granted Xavier a constitution, and the government decided not to abide by the court decision. Instead, they lumped more charges on Xavier. So I think it's an embarrassing situation for a country that is going to an election to decide to imprison one of the candidates. And then secondly, it also borders on human rights. If Xavier has committed anything wrong, start the prosecution. Because remember, when you are in an election period like this, in an election period like this, most of the candidates, apart from President Hichilema, wants to remove him from power. So whatever Xavier says, you cannot charge him for sedition. At what point do you call it sedition or its campaign message?
IP, coming to you now, the United Party for National Development launched their 2026 campaign manifesto, and VEEP, Mutale NALUMANGO, had a song to sing for this one. Let's take a look.
To Chavuma, you can tee off to Zambezi, to Chitokoloki, to Chinyamaritapi. I know this country. I know this country. That is our next agenda. Now that we've stabilized the economy, we will be growing the economy, we want to connect the country properly. Lower the time and cost of travel. Please listen to this story. It's a beautiful story. As I said, you are feeling a bit, sleepy. Just stand and dance around. You are allowed. Just dance around. Just whisper a song, dance around. Zambia, Zambia. What else are we going to do as next pillar? Airports. Every province will have an international airport. Every province. When I went to Kusevya Pangwena 2023, I promised Mwine November, Chitimukulu, that Paramount Chief, the first pilot international airport is here in Kasama. Will you allow us to do that? He said, from here, they've never told me that story you are telling. Go and work. The runway was short. I said, I need more space. He said, I'll give it to you. And he extended the runway space for Kasama Airport. Today, we have a fully fledged international airport in Kasama.
This you are alliance partners, but where I come from, we even sing samba. Charlie Toveke Chiwatu, Charlie Toveke, Charlie Toveke Chiwatu, Charlie Toveka. Fue veneba bute koni fue Chiwatu, Charlie Toveka. Fue veneba bute koni fue Chiwatu.
Thank you very much.
NALUMANGO there with a good, should I say, good campaign song directed to the PF,
yes.
Making mention of Ichiwato Kutobeka, and that is the boat being broken. And this is, you know, the new alliance partner, SAMPA, was also there. But to talk about the manifesto, I know it's a lot, but some of the things mentioned by the Republican president and the UPND president, in this case, Mr. Agande Islama, is the issue to do with airports in each and every province, as well as university. Do you think that is a priority as we speak? Do you think that is what the Zambian people need right now? Exactly 1 minute for you, Epi.
Yeah, so in terms of the manifesto launch of the UPND, the 2026 to 2031 manifesto of the UPND, Mike, and to answer your question, do I think this or the construction of international airport in each and every province is a priority or not? Before I answer, Mike, with your blessings, and the director, permit me just to play this short clip. Then I will answer from there so that the viewers can help me to answer this question.
All right, let's take a look.
Infrastructure. And I'll tell you what infrastructure is. Different from what you are thinking, airports, which is what these Chipante people in PF are doing. You cannot develop and spend $350 million in an airport when only 4 or 5 planes land in a day. What are you doing? You must be crazy. What PF is doing is crazy. It's near madness, to be honest. So I said we need to open up national parks. Basic infrastructure is needed there. 1 kilometer of a concrete runway. And a room like this is basically your tower. Technology has changed. It's your tower. You don't need huge towers. That's where we want to put the money, to open up the national parks. Anti-poaching requires opening up national parks access so that you can control poaching, so that you can restock. Water points is part of infrastructure in the parks. That's what we discussed. So, and I'm just giving you an example. Infrastructure in technology. Technology. Look at what's going on now. This is 30th October. Am I right?
31st of October.
31st of October. I beg your pardon. Have you had rains in Lusaka?
No.
What did the meteorological department tell us? Do you remember? You were a journalist. A short while ago, they told us there will be rains in October. October, Yasida. How did they get their projection wrong? They don't have the infrastructure technology to project the weather. You need to do that. So we want to invest in that sector. So the type of infrastructure I'm talking about is not just the Kubandalama building to my pavements, even around here. I mean, it's easier. It is that sort of infrastructure and the technology to give a weather forecast correctly, to allow farmers to know when to plant and to plant early maturing varieties.
For still sticking with us, and as you can see from this clip, but IP, maybe if you can come on now, since your clip has been played with the additional information of this particular clip.
Thank you so much, Mike, and I'm sure that video provides a lot of information. First of all, I mentioned earlier on that leadership demands that one should be consistent in what you say and what you do. If you want to be trusted, do not be a flip-flop kind of a leader. If you say this tomorrow, remember that tomorrow if you want to speak, you need to check what you might have said yesterday so that you can maintain from there or you amplify that information. But the moment you are going to jump and abandon your own ways, that becomes a problem. What am I trying to say here? When you listen to the video of the president when he was launching the manifesto, he pledged that was he launching the manifesto or was in Soloway's when he told us that he's going to give us an international airport in each and every province? Okay, so for me, the question is, Mike, yes, and as much as international airports are important, but is that a priority? The answer may be no. I know this may sound a bit irritating in other people's ears. Why, Mike? Because the question is, how many people fly out of the country? Out of the 20 million Zambians we have, how many citizens are able or are capable to get or have passports to fly out of the country? I could be wrong or right, but I'm asking these questions. So maybe this may not be a priority for now. If you tell me that in the long run you are going to do that, maybe much better. But immediately, then maybe this may not be a priority. Why, Mike, or how many visitors do we receive in the country? There are few investors. There are few tourists in this country. That is a problem. We haven't done well in as far as marketing tourism in this country is concerned. So, for me, that is a problem. But when you listen to President Hakainde Hichilema, when he was in the opposition, he also agreed to what I'm saying, that the construction of international airport in each and every province is not a priority. It is what President Hakainde Hichilema said while he's in the opposition. He said that was a sheer waste of money. That was President Hakainde Hichilema in the opposition. So I'm speaking the same words. Unless one would deem my submission to be useless, and one should also extend further to say in the submission of President Hakainde Hichilema in the opposition, the campaign message he had packaged was not useful. I don't want to use the word useless. It may be too harsh. Was not useful. So for me, Mike, that may not be a priority for now. But again, as I submit, Mike, I love reading. That's one thing people should know. I always want to research on a certain particular subject when I'm speaking. Why? Because I'm a journalist. And journalism, one thing I've learned means that you should not take broadcasting for granted. No matter how long you've been in the media, researching is important. You saw me, Mike, going through the UPND manifesto. Let me just pick it up, which is here. And when I go through this UPND manifesto, Mike, which was recently launched, I'm struggling to find the pointers which suggest in this manifesto that the UPND intends to construct an international airport in each and every province. But when you listen to the president, he promised that. So the question is, where did he get that information? Was it an off-cuff kind of, or he got it from here? So if it was just a mere mention, that becomes a problem. Because, Mike, a vision must be shared. A leader who's, focused, you should share your vision either on paper or with your people around. Because in an event, if, God forbid, you die, Mike, what will happen?
All right, I think...
So I'm still reading the UPND manifesto.
Okay.
The viewers can help me. But so far, I'm struggling. I can't find a portion which suggests the construction of 10 international airports in each and every province. And this was just mentioned by the president, which is quite dangerous.
All right. Stola, your general assessment of the UPND manifesto that will go from 2026 to 2031?
For me, to properly analyze this manifesto, it will take a lot of time. But the general assessment is that from 2026 to 2031, it's an ambitious manifesto. It is a manifesto that demands that Zambians work hard so that we can have more resources in order to build these universities and these
airports,
as well as improving electricity generation and also increasing maize production to 10 million metric tons. It means Zambians have to work very hard. The Zambia Revenue Authority has to collect more taxes, because I don't think if you are going to have such an ambitious manifesto, you want foreigners to fund the construction of, to fund the agriculture sector, to fund the energy sector. We need to have more resources. So meaning the 40 million, for instance, the 40 million CDF at the moment may not be increased, because there are these projects that are coming up, major projects that are coming up. Even if I understand the president has spoken about the PPP, but sometimes in the agriculture sector, I don't think we are going to have the PPP. It means Zambian, the treasury has to find more resources to give out to farmers, so that farmers can cultivate more crops, so that we reach the target of 10 million metric tons. So it is an ambitious manifesto. Then one thing, as I wind up, one thing that the president has been responding to, and I know many people may not have paid attention, twice the president so far has told his supporters to say, we have not won. Yeah. The first time he was officially unveiled as the presidential candidate, he cautioned their members. And the second time, when he was unveiling the manifesto, he also told them to say, don't be complacent that we have won. Exactly. That is a very serious message.
And very important.
Because Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is sitting in a vantage position. What I mean is he receives information from different sectors of this country across the 10 provinces, 116 districts, and 226 constituencies. So when he speaks like that, this is the first time a sitting head of state, for me, I'm hearing him cautioning his members to be wary. In 2021, let President Edgar Lungu never said something like that. What did Mr. Edgar Lungu say? Mr. Edgar Lungu told his supporters that I'm going to hand over power to myself. And it never happened. So if a sitting head of state is speaking like that, there's a lot of message to that caution to say, don't think we have already won. Right. Go and campaign.
All right. Chiwoyu, the general assessment of the UPND manifesto, maybe just to cut it down, if do you think it is realistic to have, airports in each and every province of the country as well as universities?
Oh, in my view, I think, and here's my take, it's a very strong manifesto, okay? When I look at the numbers in terms of energy, electricity, the targeted electricity production, copper production, wheat production, crop production in general, it's a very ambitious, it's an ambitious document. But here is my fear with these manifestos, and this is what makes them, I don't know, IP doesn't want to use this word, and please, this is what makes them sometimes appear useless. Why? Because politicians don't stick to them. I'll give you an example of the UPND. The UPND, their manifesto, we voted for them in 2021, never mentioned the constitution-making process. When they won government, one of the fundamental decisions they executed as a regime was to change the constitution of Zambia, okay? And they changed it in a very deceptive manner without involving the public. So I think, and I hope, if the UPND wins, they can stick to what they are promising the Zambians to do. In terms of, look, infrastructure needs like airports, economically, they are driven by demand. Okay, in economics, in most cases, you respond to demand. So if you're going to build airports in all the provinces in the country, I mean in all the provincial capitals in the country, is there demand for it? Okay, are you going to be imposing planes to be flying to those areas just to go and chill and come back? So I think when I look at what the infrastructure, what we have in terms of airports, and even I'm a passionate person about education, and I don't mind having universities in all the provinces, because I think education should be upgraded. Okay, we should have we should reach a point as a country where your minimum qualification should be a bachelor's degree. Okay, I think we should move in that direction. But of course, as we progress in that direction, we have to emphasize the issue of quality education, because we don't want to have a lot of educated people who are. So I think I like the UPND manifesto for 2026 to 2031, very ambitious and very, very good targets that they have set, and I hope they can stick to it.
All right, the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity presidential candidate Brian Mundubile, together with his running mate KITWE, just yesterday, of which they were launching their campaigns actually, and a number of issues were actually mentioned in KITWE, and among them is to revisit the cyber law and increase student allowances. Max Sichol, I'll start with you on this one. Scores of people went to attend this particular rally. Did you expect such a huge turnout? Because we saw to say there were thousands, and Ash, social media was a blessing.
Well, I didn't expect such a turnout, considering where we're coming from. But of course, I think the turnout may have been motivated again by lack of political gatherings that we have witnessed in the last 4 years. So probably when you have won, people would want to go there and listen to whatever they want to say. Then coming to the messages that Mr. Mundubile promised, again, it is very obvious that Mr. Mundubile is going to speak like that, because Mr. Mundubile and other 12 presidential candidates have been challenged by President Hakainde Hichilema, saying, if you want to come back, what do you want to do? And now they are showing him to say, when we come back, we are going to revise the cyber laws, which you promised that you are going to get rid of when elected into office, but instead you have tightened the screws on the cyber security bills. Again, to respond to say, what are you going to do when you come back? They are telling him to say, when we come back, we are going to increase new allowances to students. So this is going to be interesting, because when Mr. Mundubile spoke like that, he didn't issue out a figure to say we're going to increase the meal allowances to this much, because he knows you cannot just speak like that. You need to seek, you need to understand how is the finances in the treasury. So it was good that he did not come out with a specific amount to say we're going to increase from this to this, because he needs to be very sure, because the way he's been captured today, if he wins, if he had to win on the 13th, immediately he wins, people begin to flash out this on social media to say, Mr. Mundubile promised.
The analysis is inclusive.
Yeah, the analysis is inclusive. So it was good it came out that way, and also it is also good that now they are responding to the core, where Mr. Hakainde Hichilema is telling them, when you come back, what are you going to do? And I think we're going to see a lot going forward.
IP, bringing you on this particular issue, do you, or maybe I would love you to respond to the people who used to say there is no opposition in Zambia?
Yeah, so I think from all along, there was this argument that, or there's been this argument that there's no opposition in Zambia, the proponent, while others insisted that no, it's not a political party, which you should call as an opposition. An opposition is a mother out there who is unable to afford 3 meals a day, which was promised to them by the UPND or by the leaders in power today. And that is the biggest opposition. That was trivialized. Where are we today? After the nominations were done at presidential level, Mundubile seemed to be, and Makebi Zulu, he seemed to be giving a pressure to the incumbent now. And believe me, Mundubile and Makebi Zulu, they are going to give a lot of pressure to the UPND government come in this year's August elections. How? When you look at the numbers that Mundubile managed to pull in Kitwe, Comrade Sichol has mentioned that he never expected those numbers. I also never expected those numbers. But however, that was expected, reason being that for the last 5 years, Zambians have been watching and listening to the message from one political party of the UPND and President Hakainde Hichilema. Because the opposition we are not given room to campaign or to speak to the people of Zambia until now. So it was just inevitable for the people of Zambia and the people of Kitwe to flock to that congregation or that area to just for them to go and listen to a different message altogether, because that's what democracy entails.
As you submit.
As I submit, Mike, I also want to make mention that, and this is the message actually is going direct to President Hakainde. When I listen and when I scan through social media, like he himself, he watches social media, he has mentioned that he's a keen follower of social media. I also follow social media. But when you listen to the UPND sympathizers, UPND supporters, who are trying to trivialize the crowd of Brian Mundubile and Makebizulu and Kitwe, describing it as AI. Those are inimical to you, Mr. President. Those are bootlickers. Those are press singers who are dangerous to the presidents. Because whether it is AI or not, but the fact remains that Brian Mundubile and the team, they address the people in Kitwe. And those people in Kitwe, they have a message which they may agree with you or disagree with you.
All right.
So can you remove those individuals and ignore those people are telling you that that was AI, because such individuals have always been there. They made Chiluba to lose power. They told him that things were okay. They made Rupia Banda lose power. They told him things were okay.
Thank you.
They also told Edgar Lungu that things were okay, and Lungu lost power.
All right.
The same can happen to you.
I would love to bring you on even as we conclude tonight's program on the general assessment of the Brian Mundubile together with his running mate Makebizulu launching their manifesto in Kitwe.
Yeah, I
under a minute. Please.
Yeah. Look, if you look at the 2021 election, okay, President Hichilema was never president of Zambia until he won the Copper Belt. Okay, President Hichilema was never president of Zambia until he dominated Lusaka province.
Yeah.
So there was a condition given to President Hichilema on the Copper Belt. Okay, I remember in one of the earliest days, the president was jokingly saying that when he went to the Copper Belt, they told him to say, if you have to do what we want you to do for the region. The president has been showing some signs of panic, if you ask me. He's been frequenting the Copper Belt almost every now and then. Okay? Does it mean that he thinks that the love Kopala gave him in 2021 no longer exists? I don't know. The Copper Belt has been as a region in a very difficult situation for a very long time, and
as you said,
yeah, and largely because of the underperformance of the mining sector. So the president has made a lot of reforms in the mining sector. We have seen the transition at Mopani copper mine. We have seen Vedanta KCM being restored to Vedanta. We have seen a number of mines coming up in the Copper Belt. So this seemingly shift towards Brian Mundubile, does it mean that the Copper Belt region has assessed the president's performance and they think he has not met the bar? I don't think it's really up to me to answer.
Right. All right, gentlemen, we've come to an end. We'll have to reserve two topics for tonight's program, and that is South Africa's xenophobic actions on other citizens, as the attacks worry the African Union, as well as Morocco recording a draw against Brazil at the ongoing FIFA World Cup. We've come to an end.
Quite shocking,
IP, huh? Quite shocking. IP, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much, Mike, and thank you so much to Comrade Chiwoyu, Comrade Speech Analyst, and the viewers. Thank you so much.
Stula, Speech Analyst, rather, the iconic name. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Mike, and good evening to our dear viewers.
Sinyangwe Chiwoyu, thank you for coming as well.
Thank you very much. Good evening to our viewers, and we wish them a productive week as we start tomorrow morning.
You'll be watching the analysis on KBN TV, and this is where we've come to the end of the programming. Thank you very much for those of you that had the chance to text in. We appreciate you, and for those of you that were just watching for the comfort of your homes, we appreciate you as well, for you are indeed her greatest stakeholders. My name is Mike Jovic Mwanisaba. Now together we say good night.
Did you know that registered voters and patriotic Zambians alike from across the country watch and follow KBN TV as Zambia decides this August for in-depth analysis of political news and information? Stay with KBN TV.